Our last speaker today is a great supporter and partner of the Johnson County Master Gardeners. Michelle Wiegand is a naturalist with Johnson County Conservation, and she's dedicated to connecting communities with nature through education, outreach, and green space access. Michelle coordinates Johnson County Conservation's Native Plant Series, which you should all attend this summer, and was instrumental in the county's newest designation as Bird Friendly Iowa. She knows that spending time outdoors provides numerous benefits for physical and mental health, including reduced stress, improved mood, and increased physical fitness. Communing with nature can also boost cognitive function, strengthen the immune system, and improve social connections. Prioritizing your health isn't just about how you spend your time, but where you spend your time can make a difference, especially if you spend time in nature. Nature's healing powers aren't completely understood, but we know that spending time in a natural environment can affect humans mentally and physically. Michelle has built a career that blends education, social work, community development, and outdoor recreation into a career dedicated to connecting people with the natural world. Let's invite and welcome Michelle. It's all yours.
Great, thanks, Brandy. And thanks everyone for being here today, and thanks to the Johnson County Master Gardeners, especially Linda, for the invitation here. I'm really excited to be here. I was just talking to someone about how yesterday was so beautiful and sunny, and it's spring now, so I wanted to see, what did everyone do outside yesterday? I'm sure you were outside. You can just shout it out or raise your hand. What'd you do? Bike ride, me too. Went to the dog park, awesome. I heard some people worked in their gardens. Awesome. Yeah, lots of garden cleanup. Windows. Working on the windows, nice, okay. A chicken coop, awesome. So we stayed busy, and I'm excited today because I get to talk to you all about getting outside, just what we all did, just what we were drawn to do yesterday on that beautiful sunny day. And we'll talk a little bit about the benefits both for our minds and bodies in getting outside. Is anyone here ever taken the long way home and maybe like driving a little bit out of your way to go by the river or a tree-lined street? Can you raise your hand if you've ever done that? Just about everyone. Is there anyone who's ever decided to go on a walk when you're feeling kind of stressed or overwhelmed? Yeah. I've done both of those things. I do them regularly. You can see right here, this is the Iowa River. And I often go a little bit out of my way to drive by the beautiful Iowa River in Iowa City when I'm going to and from someplace. So I think that for a lot of us, the idea that nature is good for us seems really instinctive. So has anyone ever heard of biophilia? Awesome, a couple people. So biophilia is a term that was made popular by the late E.O. Wilson, and he was an entomologist and biologist. And biophilia is the idea that humans have this innate and instinctive draw to be out in nature and to learn more about and connect with other living things. And the idea with that is that we have evolved in nature. We've evolved outdoors. And so it makes sense that it feels natural and soothing to us to go outside when we are feeling stressed or overwhelmed. And so that might be why we try to take the scenic route home or go outside to clear our head when we're feeling stressed. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background. I'm going to talk a little bit about Johnson County Conservation. As just about everyone here is from Johnson County, right? So I work for you. I work for Johnson County Conservation, so I want to make sure you know that what's going on with our education programs. And then we'll talk a little bit about the current trends in our nature connection and some of the benefits of being outdoors in nature. So again, my name is Michelle Wiegand, and I'm a naturalist with Johnson County Conservation. I was born and raised in Iowa City, but I moved away for a long time, for about 14 years in my early adulthood, and I moved back here in 2021, rather. I'm one of a team of 3 full-time naturalists at Johnson County Conservation, and we also have some part-time seasonal education staff as well. So some of you might know of the Native Plant Series, which Brandy mentioned. So that series has been going on since 2024, and we'll have monthly sessions throughout the spring and fall that's dedicated to native home landscaping. And with each of those, we also have a native plant sale as well as a speaker, and then this year we're also going to have a hands-on activity as well. So the first one's going to be coming up on May 3rd, and we've got 2 great native plant vendors that will be there, and that's located out at Kent Park in Oxford. So when you're there, you can enjoy the plant sale, enjoy a speaker, and then hopefully get outside and enjoy a walk on our trails too. Oops, sorry. Yep. And then, as Brandy mentioned also, so my background is in outdoor education. I have worked in outdoor education for over 20 years in some capacity, and that started as a summer camp counselor at YMCA Camp Wapsie many, many years ago. But my background's also in social work, and so I have a really special interest in the mind-body connection to nature and the restorative power of the natural world. So a little bit about our education programs. Each year we engage over 4,000 students in hands-on experiential learning through field trips at Kent Park or other conservation sites. So sometimes it looks like this, where we're dip netting for macroinvertebrates and amphibians in our wetlands. Other times we're studying the forest floor, or we're looking at the life cycle of trees. And other times we're talking about survival skills, and we are doing shelter building or fire building. Whatever it is, it's always hands-on, it's always outdoors, and really immersive. We also host public programs for all ages, and so we do things on nature arts with natural dyeing sometimes. We do a foraged wreath program, that's what these folks are doing. We also have wildlife education programs, and we do guided hikes at all of our different conservation areas as well. And a lot of people like those guided hikes because it's a chance to get out to our sites that maybe you've never been to, explore those areas with a naturalist, and then feel more confident to go back to those places on your own. Does anyone know about the Johnson County Avian Adventure? Okay. Well, I'm hoping to give you something to think about in a couple years. So it ends today. It's a month and a half long program where we've hidden 12 wooden birds that we've cut out and we've painted, and they're hidden at 12 different sites throughout Johnson County. And we challenge people to follow maps and clues to go out and find them. And we do it in winter intentionally because we want to give you some motivation to get outside in the colder months and keep on learning about the natural world. So today is the very last day people can participate. We'll end on Tuesday with a trivia night event at Big Grove, and we'll give out all sorts of prizes for people who participated as well.
Did they find them all?
So lots of people have found them all. So your goal is to find all of them, or at least 10, because if you find at least 10, then you're entered to win a grand prize. Yeah. We also have a festival that we started in 2024 called the Wings and Wild Things Festival. We've had a great partnership with Johnson County Master Gardeners on that event as well. And just this past year, we hosted over 4,000 people at that event in October. We have all sorts of volunteer initiatives, so if you want to get involved with our prairie seed collections or monarch monitoring, the Iowa River cleanup, we have all sorts of other volunteer activities as well, so that's another way to get involved with us. And then we do an annual wilderness trek to Idaho as well. So we take 11 teens from Johnson County to Idaho. It's a 10-day trip, and they go backpacking. We also work alongside staff from the National Forest Service, and so they're helping to clear trails for future users. So they're also learning about careers in conservation and working alongside staff from those areas. And then last year we started a Outdoor Youth Corps, which is a teen job program that's focused on conservation careers here in Johnson County. And so teens learn about land conservation, they learn about wildlife rehab, water quality monitoring, and then we also try to have fun and get outside and do some outdoor recreation with them. So this is a day that we got to go paddleboarding. And not only is it a great way to build the team rapport and help them to fall in love with nature, but we also talk to them about how we as naturalists use outdoor recreation to engage the public as well. And then we have a really strong focus on team building and leadership skill development with that program as well. So why do I tell you all of that? Besides that, I want you to know all the cool things that we're doing at Johnson County, and I hope that you come visit us at our programs. Whenever people leave our programs, whether it's students on our field trips or adults in our programs, our ultimate goal, beyond we want them to learn about reptiles if we're teaching them about reptiles, we also want them to leave our programs with a deeper connection to the natural world. So one thing that we do with students during our field trips is we'll often slow down and we'll ask kids to sit and just close their eyes, and we'll ask them to listen to what they're hearing around them. We'll give them a few minutes and then we'll ask what they heard, and they'll tell us they heard bees and butterflies and the leaves rustling. And then we'll ask, how did you feel when you were listening? And inevitably, they tell us that they felt calm and peaceful, sometimes sleepy. But then we remind them that nature can be a place for them to go to be restored in the future. So we want them to leave with the tool belt of nature can be calming for me, it can be a place for me to learn, it can be a place for me to feel rejuvenated if I ever need that in the future. So we want people to leave with that deeper connection to the natural world, and we also want them to fall in love with the nature, because we know when people come out to our programs and they build that deeper connection with nature and they fall in love with it, they'll take better care of our planet in the future. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. I keep kind of stepping back and, okay. So back in 2014, I was about a year and a half out of grad school, and I was at a job in the St. Louis area. That's where I went to grad school. And it was my first professional job out of school, and it was at a great organization, but I wasn't feeling completely connected to my work. I was doing a lot of grant management and staff recruitment and managing paperwork, and I was not working as much with the people that the organization served. And so I was kind of at a point in my career, even though it was early, where I was kind of feeling a little bit stuck and a little bit overwhelmed. And so I one day took a walk out at Shaw Nature Reserve. Has anyone ever been to Shaw Nature Reserve outside of St. Louis? At least one person. So Shaw Nature Reserve is an incredible nature reserve outside of the city of St. Louis, and it's managed by the Missouri Botanical Garden. Miles and miles of trails, most like all sorts of different natural ecosystems. So there's woodlands, there's prairie, there's wetlands. And I spent the day wandering the trails, and these are some of the photos that I took that day. I'm not a nature photographer, so they're nothing very special. But I spent the day just hiking and taking photos and looking really closely at the natural world. These are some more photos from that day. And what I found at the end of the day was I felt 1,000,000 times better. I felt restored. I didn't feel as stuck. I felt more hopeful about my future. And as I stopped at the visitor center on the way outside of the park, I saw this quote, which was printed and laminated on the wall at the visitor center. And I'll give you all a moment to read it. So Kierkegaard wrote this in 1847, and he said, "Above all else, do not lose your desire to walk. Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being, and I walk away from every illness." And he continues and says, "Thus, if one just keeps on walking, everything will be all right." Now, in some situations, this might feel a little bit oversimplistic, but to me, on that day, when I spent the day wandering the woods and observing and looking at nature, that quote really struck a chord for me. And it's something that I've been able to go back to for many years if I've ever feeling stressed or overwhelmed. And I know that I can go out on a walk in the woods and feel a lot better. So I went home that day, and this was back when you used to make Facebook photo albums, and I called my Facebook photo album Nature. It does a body good. So what happened that day was, by slowly walking in the woods and observing nature, I was able to move out of my head a little bit and relieve some of that mental overload that we're all feeling a lot of the time. And I was able to tap into the emotion of awe, which is something that we can experience when we go and we hear a beautiful piece of music at Hansher, or it can be something that we can feel when we're observing art at the Stanley Art Museum. But scientists are studying awe because it's been shown to relieve symptoms of depression, it lowers anxiety, and it helps with even things like the feeling of loneliness and isolation. So when we feel awe, when we tap into that sense of awe, again, we're moving outside of our head, we're focused on the beautiful stars above us, or the scurrying of a squirrel in the grass. And it relieves some of the mental pressure that we're feeling because we're able to focus on things outside of ourselves. And I'll just point out that after that day, I made a plan. I gave about a month's notice at the current job I was working at. This was before I had kids, so I was able to then take a couple part-time jobs, one at Shaw Nature Reserve, where I walked that day. I worked on the education team there, and a couple other places, working in part-time outdoor education, and kind of completely changed the trajectory of my career. So as we talked about, nature is good for us. It's kind of a feeling we all have, but there's lots of data to back it up as well. Do you all feel like we are the most connected today that we've ever been to the natural world? Unfortunately, no. So today there are a couple different barriers to us being as connected as we can be to the natural world. And two of those major barriers are going to be our screens and the urbanization of our societies. So today, about 9 in 10 US adults report that they go online every single day. And of those, 41% of adults report that they're using the internet almost constantly. And if we look just at ages 18 to 29, that's about 62% of those folks are using the internet almost constantly. So that means you're on your computer at work, you're walking to the break room, you're checking your phone there, you're going back and you're working the rest of the day at your computer, you go home, you're scrolling while you're cooking dinner, you're scrolling while you're eating dinner, you go to bed and you're scrolling some more before bed. So 62% of that age range of 18 to 29 are saying that they're online constantly. If you're online constantly and you're tuned into your phone, you're certainly not observing the natural world around you. In general, there's an increase of computer use both at home and at work. And on average today, children between the ages of 8 and 18 in the US are spending about 7.5 hours per day on some sort of screen. So it could be tablets, it could be phones, it could be gaming devices. Is anyone surprised by any of those numbers, or you feel like that? Yeah, sadly, yeah. So at the same time, last year, the National Recreation and Parks Association released a study that found that children today are spending less time outdoors than any other generation before them. And in fact, only about 4 to 7 minutes per day in unstructured play outside. 4 to 7 minutes. And again, that's with the backdrop of what they're doing instead is about 7.5 hours on screens. And so that's screens at home. It could be screens at school. So we're seeing a real disconnect from being outside and then all of us, adults and kids alike, moving onto our screens more. And what is this doing to our kids first? Well, we know that excessive screen use in children is leading to lower grades, higher rates of obesity, increased rates of myopia or nearsightedness. Has anyone heard about this? It's pretty wild. So there's more cases of nearsightedness worldwide, and it's estimated that, about 40% of children worldwide by 2050 will experience nearsightedness. And doctors are saying this is there's two reasons. One, it's screens. So when we are looking at something close up like this all the time, our vision is not being challenged to move to different depths. And then it's also because we're not outside. Because when we're outside, our vision is constantly shifting between the depths that we're looking. We're looking at that bald eagle across the river, and then we're looking at someone who's walking a little bit closer, and then we're looking at the squirrel on the ground. So our vision when we're outside is constantly shifting and challenged to work those muscles and different depths of vision. So doctors are saying in order to address this, get your kids outside more. Excessive screen use is also showing all sorts of mental health challenges, poor self-esteem and body issues. And then I think what's really sad also is just what they're missing out on, what they're getting less of. So reading fewer books, sleeping less. They're spending less time in person with friends and family because sometimes when they are spending time with friends, it's in gaming devices. And then less time learning other ways to have fun and relax. So right now, for a lot of kids, the ways to have fun is just grabbing your phone or getting on the gaming devices. So instead, they're not learning about climbing trees or riding bikes in your neighborhood or even arts and all sorts of other alternatives. And then ultimately, excessive screen use is leading to not enough time outdoors and physical activity. And it's not just kids, of course, adults are experiencing this too. And I want to also acknowledge that some of this is going to be unavoidable for us. I work in outdoor education and I get to be outside a lot for my job, but I also have to be on screens a lot. So some of this is going to be unavoidable because of the nature of our work or because of accessibility needs. But it is leading to a more sedentary lifestyle, which has physical health outcomes, and some of those are musculoskeletal outcomes, heart problems, metabolic disorders, an increased rate of cancers, especially colon, breast, and lung cancer, and then ultimately a lowered life expectancy. Screen use is also really hard on our mental health because we are also seeing higher rates of anxiety, depression, and stress that's related to excessive screen use. It also impairs our sleep and leads to social isolation. You guys feeling pretty bad right now? I'm sorry.
From the same study,
This is multiple studies. Yeah. So
This is not the study that
no, not just the National Recreation and Parks Association. Numerous studies. Yes. So I have a link to that book a little bit later. Yeah. Great book. I'll get to some of the more positive things soon, I promise. So the other barrier to our connection to nature is increased urbanization. So as of 2007, more than half of the world's population now lives in cities versus more rural areas. So today, 55% of the world lives in cities, and the UN projects that by 2050, 68% of the world population will live in cities. Does anyone recognize this city?
That's Seattle.
It's not Seattle. It's not in the United States. But Seattle is a good guess because of that mountain. It is in Japan. Yes, so this is Tokyo. It's one of the world's largest cities. And it's one that I had the pleasure of visiting in 2016. It's an amazing city. And I was really lucky to visit right around this time when they are celebrating the annual Sakura Festival, which is the cherry blossom festival. So it's a wonderful tradition that is deeply rooted in nature. For thousands and thousands of years, people have found cherry blossoms wherever they're growing, whether it's a large city park like this in central Tokyo, or it's a little cherry blossom tree that's growing outside of your balcony. Every day you would see people finding those trees and sitting and enjoying the tradition of hanami, which is cherry blossom viewing. This is in Yoyogi Park, which is right in central Tokyo, and you can see it's really crowded, right? This went on for acres and acres, just people everywhere. And I think it's a great example of, even in these sprawling, enormous cities, of this deep cultural connection to the nature. People go out and seek the natural world, even when we have more limited opportunities to get deep into nature. This is a great example of a city park in the United States. This is one of my favorites. Does anyone recognize this one?
Middle one is St. Louis.
Yeah, they're all St. Louis, actually. Yeah. So this is Forest Park in St. Louis. It is about 1,300 acres. It's larger than Central Park in New York City. There's forests, there's wetlands, there's miles and miles of trails. There's several different museums and a zoo. It's an amazing example of a city park and ways that people have chosen to preserve some land and place for outdoor recreation, as well as plants. So Frederick Law Olmsted, who is considered by many to be the founder of landscape architecture, when he designed a park, he of course designed Central Park in New York City, as well as the Emerald Necklace and many more, Emerald Necklace in Boston. And I really appreciate his thoughts about park design, because he didn't just think about where to put rocks and where to put plants. He thought of parks as being important to our public health. He emphasized things like sanitation, and he knew that parks and natural landscapes were also good for our mental health. So he talked about, in his writing and his work, he talked about how enjoying a beautiful viewscape is good for our mental health, or being outside is good for our mental well-being. And that's before we had all this data to back that up. And then he also felt that parks reinforced our democratic values as a country as well, because there's no admission fee. People from all walks of life can go to parks and enjoy the physical and mental health benefits and congregate and interact with each other. So why get outside? It supports our individual and our community health, as we've talked about already. So some of the physical health benefits of getting outside, especially in our public parks and natural areas, As we've just talked about, public parks, especially in our area, our city parks, our county parks, our state parks, there's no admission fee. So if you want to get some exercise, if you want to get the mental health benefits of being outside, there's no charge and you don't need a gym membership to go there. And when you go to the natural world, it's often going to lead to things like hiking and biking and kayaking, and all of those things support our heart health, our lung health. It helps to lower rates of obesity and lower cholesterol. Parks also help to improve our access to healthy foods, because when we go to parks with community gardens or farmers markets, we're able to access those healthy food benefits as well. And then, of course, when we're outside, whether it's at a park or in our front yard, we're also increasing our access to vitamin D, which supports our bone health and immune system. Mental health benefits of being outdoors. Spending time outdoors has been shown to reduce stress. It helps regulate our immune system, so it moves us out of that fight or flight mode and into sort of a rest and recover mode. It's been shown to aid in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder, and it can help to decrease feelings of loneliness, symptoms of anxiety and depression, and irritability as well. So as someone who works for parks and does parks planning, I think that's also really important for us to think about where we're locating parks, and also how our programs are reaching out to people who maybe could really benefit from access to those types of spaces and programs. And then finally, studies have even shown that kids who grow up with more green space around them have better mental health outcomes even as adults. Attention and focus and creativity are increased when we are able to spend time outdoors. So studies of people who have spent time outdoors show even kids with ADHD focus better after spending time outdoors in free play or even on walks in the woods. And then finally, time in nature also allows us to relax our minds a little bit. This is kind of what I was talking about. When we experience awe, it helps us to relax our minds and from that everyday mental overload, and we're able to think more clearly and think more creatively as well. Have most people heard of forest bathing? Yeah. So I'll talk about a couple examples from around the world of the connection that cultures have to the outdoors. So forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku, was a term that was coined in 1982 by Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. And today it's actually prescribed as preventive medicine in Japan. There are at least 65 forest therapy sites throughout the country, and traditionally when you go to one of those sites, you're working alongside a guide who's going to take you on a slow-paced walk in the woods. This is not the fast-paced walk. You're obviously leaving your phone behind, and they're going to help you tune into your senses. So you'll think about, what are you smelling in the woods? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? So really focusing on slowing down and tapping into your observation with forest bathing. Dr. Jing Li is the leading research on forest immersion therapy and the founder of forest medicine in Japan. And he's done numerous studies that have shown some of the same things that I talked about already. When we immerse ourselves in the woods and forests, we experience decreased anxiety and depression, reduce our stress hormones. It helps, again, to move us into that more rest and recover versus fight or flight mode. It improves sleep, and we also see physical health benefits. So it helps slow down our heart rate and our blood pressure, and so we're also getting physical as well as mental health benefits. Is what his studies have shown. And I think that his work is really interesting because he focused a lot on the connection between chronic stress and immune system function. So We know that chronic stress is linked to all sorts of chronic disease, including cancers, hypertension, heart disease, alcoholism, many, many different types of ailments. But we also know that, so his idea was if we can focus on increasing our immune system, could we help to then address some of those things that are affected by chronic stress? And his studies show that forest immersion does help us boost our immune system. So I put some pine needles on the table. I invite you to pick those up, give them a sniff. When I handed these out, it was really fun because I saw almost everyone just like instinctively grab them and smell them because we know we love that smell. And there's maybe a reason for it. There might be a reason that we instinctively grab that and smell it. Because Dr. Lee's studies show that when we immerse ourselves in forests, especially forests that are high in phytoncides, and phytoncides are a chemical that are produced by plants, especially evergreens, so things like pines and cypress. Oaks and maples also have phytoncides, but at a lower concentration. But when we smell those phytoncides, our bodies naturally boost our immune system function. So we start to produce more, and what those call, it's a white blood cell called the natural killer cell, or NK cells. So our NK cells start to be more active and more productive when we come across those phytoncides from smelling things like pine needles. And those NK cells kill tumor and virus-infected cells. And so Dr. Lee and other researchers are now looking at, can phytoncides in forest immersion not only be used as a preventive tool, but potentially as a treatment for some of those elements related to chronic disease as well. And so they showed that in just a 3-day, 2-night forest immersion trip, activity of those NK cells was increased for up to 30 days after spending time in the woods. Another example from around the world is the idea of friluftsliv. Has anyone ever heard of that? Awesome. So friluftsliv is a Norwegian way of life. It's loosely translated to free air life, and it's a philosophy that's embraced by many in Norway. And the idea is just to get outside as much as possible. Don't let the weather deter you. There's no bad weather, there's only bad clothes, right? So get outside, enjoy the health benefits of being outside. It's so ingrained in the culture there that there's actually frilufts kindergartens where kids are spending about 80% of their time outdoors year-round. And there's also a law that is called friluftsloven, and it's the right to roam law. Has anyone been to Norway? It's a dream of mine. So
My daughter saw one of the preschools.
Oh.
And the kids were outside, there was a foot of snow.
yeah,
They were sleeping out there, they were eating out there, it was phenomenal.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so the right to roam law is reinforced by the government. It says that people can camp and forage and hike anywhere in Norway, even if it's on private land, as long as it's uncultivated. So it's really reinforced by the government and the culture there to get outside and explore.
So there's no such thing as vacancy.
Yeah, yeah. And what an amazing place to get outside, right? So other examples from around the world, someone just kind of mentioned this. Well, first, South Korea is very quickly becoming the second leading nation in forest immersion. So they are building parks and trails dedicated to forest immersion therapy. And then many Scandinavian countries, as you had just mentioned earlier, many parents believe that having kids sleep outdoors is good for their immune system, and they also sleep better when they do that. So even in colder weather, when it's safe, kids will be sleeping outdoors. And I will say that in the research that I did, there's fewer actual studies showing that it's actually good for immune system function. But it's another example of how connected that culture is to the outdoors. And then, of course, many indigenous cultures around the world have always had a really deep-rooted connection to nature and the healing properties and the healing places in nature as well. And then aromatherapy is also another great example of our connection to nature and our use of the natural world as a medicine. So a little closer to home, this is something that any of us can do, whether it's out our window or in our parks. Birding is really good for brain function, and studies are showing that it helps to increase our neuroplasticity. I'm not a brain scientist. I don't know if anyone knew that, but neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to make new connections in our brain. So every time we learn a new skill or new information, we are making new neuron connections in our brain. So birding is a great activity to do that, because every time you learn a new bird or new field marks, or even learn how to use field guides or binoculars or spotting scopes, all of those things are helping us to build new neural connections in our brain. And then other researchers have pointed out that birding is also just good for our cognitive function, because when we're outside, it leads to improved attention. We know that walking has been shown to increase or reduce cognitive impairment. And right now, there's not a known cure for Alzheimer's, right? We don't know how to cure Alzheimer's or even prevent it. So scientists are extremely excited that this is at least showing that this can help to improve cognitive function. So people are starting to study it more, with some hope that we can learn more about prevention in the future. I think everyone in this room could appreciate that gardening is really, really good for you. This is my daughter, by the way. She's very cute. When we're gardening, we're constantly exercising, right? We're pulling, we're carrying things, we're bending over. We're getting lots and lots of exercise in our gardens. We're probably eating better, especially if we're following Linda's advice and growing more vegetables and fruits. We are also getting those stress management benefits of being outdoors. And then it's a social connector too, because when we're working in our front yard, we're probably often talking to the neighbor who's walking their dog. All of us are probably going to grow too much zucchini at some point, and we need to give it away. And so it's going to help us make friends with our neighbors or our coworkers. So it's a great social connector as well. And then, of course, we're also having greater access to those things like increased vitamin D, lung health, and reduced heart and muscle tension as well. And then not only are parks good for us on an individual level, but parks are also good for us on a community level. So when we have more green space, or parks or nature preserves, or even trees on our street, we have greater air quality, we see more carbon sequestration. Nature helps to regulate temperature, so reducing the effects of urban heat island effect in cities. Nature helps us to mitigate challenges related to severe weather, which we're seeing more of. So it helps mitigate things like flooding. And then parks and green spaces also help to increase social cohesion, because they often give us places to go to walk together, to meet for a concert in the park, and things like that. And then, of course, when we help to build more, maybe I'm not moving around enough up here, I guess. When we helped young people and other people fall in love with nature, we're building future stewards of our environment. And so that's also really important for us, especially at Johnson County Conservation, that we're continuing on that legacy of taking care of our planet so that we can continue to enjoy these good things. So what can you do to get outside more and build your connection to the natural world? I think you all probably have a lot of good ideas already, and I could go on for another hour with this information, but I've got just a few ideas. And first, just a shameless plug that I hope that you come and enjoy some programs with Johnson County Conservation. So I've got our website up there with our events page, and then I also have some printed copies of our newsletters. Unfortunately, we just came out with our spring newsletter, and it's not in print yet, so it'll be in print soon, but it's up on our website. And you can learn about all the cool things that we're doing program-wise. You can learn about some of our conservation efforts. But at the back of our newsletter, we always have a list of all our upcoming events. And those events for the spring are also on our website right now. You can bring the outside in. So keeping house plants in your home has been shown to help relieve stress. It also improves air quality. So sometimes when you can't get outside, bringing the outside in is a good solution as well. Gardening is another great way, as we talked about, to get outside more and enjoy those physical and mental health benefits, and also those great healthy eating benefits. Does anyone recognize that garden? It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, this is that great garden that's outside of the Robert A. Lee Rec Center downtown, just across from Film Scene. And they've always got some cool native plants as well as vegetables and herbs growing there. And it's also got just space for the public to go and enjoy and sit and actually harvest vegetables as well. She's eating a green tomato. She was probably not even 2, so yeah. We didn't fry them, but yeah. We talked a lot about green spaces today and getting out into the woods, but there's also more and more research on blue spaces as well, so things like oceans and rivers and lakes. And you're probably not surprised to hear that those places are also really good for us. And so think about getting out to Kent Park and join us for a paddle later this spring, or go out to Lake McBride and rent a canoe or kayak there, or even go fishing or just sit by a lake and enjoy the benefits of being outside next to those blue spaces as well. The Iowa City Bird Club, is anyone here a member? Okay, a couple people maybe. We've got a really great bird club here in Iowa City. They do lots of nice events. They take people on public walks. They do lots of education, and they're a regular partner with us at Johnson County Conservation. So look into the Iowa City Bird Club as a tool to increase your cognitive function through birding. Just taking a walk out in nature, or if that's not comfortable for you, even just taking the time to go and sit next to a prairie or in the woods is going to be really good for you as well. Explore aromatherapy. So we talked about phytoncides and the fact that evergreen is really high in phytoncides, but things like lavender aromatherapy has also been shown to have soothing effects, can help us sleep. So think about bringing the nature inside to you through aromatherapy as well. And then if you know any kids, get them outside, because this can't just stop with us in our adulthood, but getting kids and the next generation outside as well. I've got some books up here. I referenced many studies today that I don't have the citations for, but if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me after. But these are some really great books that have helped me learn more. And someone already mentioned The Anxious Generation, which is there at the bottom. And then the last thing I have is actually a poem for you. So this is a poem by Wendell Berry, The Peace of Wild Things.
The peace of wild things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
I think it's a beautiful poem to reflect on our connection to nature and all that it gives us. And with that, I hope that I see all of you at a Johnson County Conservation site sometime soon, either on our trails or our programs. So thank you all so much for having me.
Michelle. We feel more centered. If you have questions, I will invite you to come up to the microphone for them. We have a couple minutes. And then I think Linda has the fun finale of the day. But first, questions for Michelle.
I heard someone ask how many pictures were taken in Johnson County. I just packed this presentation with photos, so I'm not, most of them. Some of the photos in my former garden were in the St. Louis area, but yeah.
What is the thing you are most excited about for the upcoming season for Johnson County Conservation? For
What
the upcoming
program?
Yeah, what are you most excited about?
Oh, so many. So one thing that I guess I will, native plant series, come out to the native plant series. But the other thing is the Wendell Berry poem there at the end reminds me of a field trip program that we do with Iowa City schools. And they get some instruction before they come on nature writing, and then they come to us and we explore the prairies and the woods, and we read poems all day, and the kids write poems, and then we actually print their works in an anthology. So we're going into heavy field trip season right now, so I'm also excited about working with our kids in field trips.
Okay, Michelle, I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to thank you immensely for your talk. It just brought so many things to mind that I really need to start implementing in my life. And for that, I thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sharon. And I love the crew of Brandy, Linda, and Sharon, and then we're missing Joyce, but these are our regular volunteers from Johnson County Master Gardeners who help out with the Native Plant Series, so thank you.